Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Strategic Source webinar. The topic, like you see on the screen, digital platforms transforming vehicle logistics. To get things underway, here now is our CEO at Strategic Source, Doug Austin. Doug, take it away.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today on this another in our session of Innovative Suppliers. We started this Innovative Suppliers series a year ago, May. I think we're up to about 35, 36 webinars now, but the intention is to bring new and innovative, transformative suppliers to the attention of our clients and folks that are interested in this. And certainly this is a time, as we all know, when inflation is raging at over 9%. We're looking for opportunities to cut costs and maybe even opportunities to drive new revenue. So that's what this series is intended to provide. We are happy today to have Justin McCarthy and Kevin Stanley from Ship.Cars to present to you, and I'd encourage you to take some notes, and we will make this webinar available on our website at some time today. And if you need any information, please let us know. We're happy to get copies of this presentation off. But with that, I will turn it over to Justin and Kevin. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, David and Doug, listen, thank you all very much for the opportunity to present in the webinar. First off, we're excited to be here, and I'll give a quick introduction about myself, then I'll turn it over to Kevin and he can do the same. So I've been over at Ship.Cars heading up business development now joined earlier this year, so about a little over 7 months. Prior to that and prior to joining the company, I cut my teeth in automotive. I was with Carfax for about 13 years. So I managed a lot of their strategic online partnerships in support of our dealer business unit. And then prior to that, I was at AOL for about 10 years and kind of got the early entry point into the online internet world. So again, excited to be here. With that, I'll turn it over to Kevin for a quick intro, and then we can get started.
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin Stanley. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at Ship.Cars. I've been here for a couple months. I came here from Trimble Transportation, working in the electronic compliance and vehicle tracking. I'm so excited to be here with you all. Thanks.
All right, so I figure the first thing we could do is give a quick update on what Ship.Cars is, and we can dive into the presentation. So Ship.Cars as a company has been around since about 2017, so a little over 5 years. Ship.Cars provides products and services for shippers and carriers in the industry, in the automotive transportation industry. So we have a multitude of different products. We have TMSs for both carriers and shippers. We have pricing tools that can help companies understand where to price inventory with carriers. And we have a platform that can help shippers post inventory to load board to connect with carriers and provide a bunch of features and functionality, as well as a full functioning TMS to really help shippers manage more efficiently their inventory and operations. So that's kind of as a company, the products and solutions we offer. So today we're going to talk about digital platforms transforming vehicle logistics. So for us, we developed a solution called LoadMate, which is for small to medium-sized shippers, and then LoadMate Pro, which is really geared towards enterprise shippers who really need a full TMS. We developed these, took a couple of years, and we're going to share a little bit today about how we got here with our platform or solutions and how we feel like this can help the industry in terms of going from perhaps offline processes, documentation, et cetera, using a bunch of different paper solutions, tools, spreadsheets, and transforming that all into one digital platform to do a variety of different things. So we're going to share kind of how we get here, how it got benefits businesses out there, and we can go from there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first quick poll before we jump in. So curious. So 2020, this is the latest we could find from NADA. What are the average holding costs floor planning per day for franchise dealership inventory? So here, things have changed obviously pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So I'm curious where folks' thoughts are and what that is. So, so we'll give about 10 to 15 seconds to allow you to answer, but it's interesting kind of compare kind of where it used to be kind of pre-pandemic and then kind of where it is now. So let's give 10 to 20 seconds and allow you guys to answer. All right. So I appreciate the folks who answered. So the actual answer is, let me hit the share results button. Oh, okay. So the answer is actually $140 profit. So this was, again, 2 years ago. The source was NADA when they did the survey. But interestingly enough, this used to be pre-pandemic. This used to be kind of the cost center where it'd be obviously costs involved, but given the turn and how quickly vehicles are turning in terms of once they get to the dealer's lot, in terms of it's a lot quicker. Obviously, sometimes consumers have already purchased the inventory before it even gets on the dealer's lot. So it's a quick turn. Holding costs have gone down, plus incentives provided by the OEM has kind of helped fuel that as well, which turned it to a little bit of a profit center from 2020 in terms of NADA's results. So I thought that was interesting. All right. So when we developed this, when we developed what we call LoadMate and LoadMate Pro, the transportation solution, we first had to kind of understand out there, well, what are the market trends? What are the emerging market trends? Kind of what is the evolution of the space? What's the role of carriers and shippers and technology? And then obviously what are the barriers to change based upon for businesses to leverage a digital solution? So a few trends that we saw, and again, there's going to be 3 different trends, right? It's going to be general transportation, it's going to be automotive, and then automotive specific transportation trends. So I'm not going to read through every single bullet. I'm sure these are all familiar to you all, but I'll highlight a few. So one is just in general kind of mobility as a service, right? So easy example there is obviously there's more and more technology-driven solutions that are in an app that are combined. So so whether it's Uber, whether it is any sort of Turo, whether these types of mobility that are combined into a service with a easy payment method, obviously those are becoming more and more transparent, more and more trends in the industry. That's just straightforward. Last mile efficiency, that is the hardest part of logistics in general, is that last mile delivery to the ultimate end user. It's usually the most expensive part, but there's more and more things happening in the industry to make that easier and more cost effective. Obviously, easy example is Amazon putting more and more distribution centers closer to dense urban areas for that last mile delivery from that type of goods and services. Investment in electronic vehicles. And the big thing here that we are seeing, and I'll jump into the next one real quick, is truck drivers. It's that ability to get truck drivers into, and there's a lack of truck drivers in the industry, and there's a bunch of different things driving that. One is truck drivers today. A lot of the ones today are retiring, and a lot of the younger truck drivers coming up are not entering the industry, right? So that is one specific where there's just less and less truck drivers out there to pick up that demand. Okay. So that was an example. Now, other automotive trends, given the pandemic, obviously a huge one is home delivery. So how do we make this as easy as possible for consumers who don't want to come into the dealership's lot to be able to deliver a VIP experience directly to their doorstep? So there's more and more technology to make it as easy as possible online, whether it's digital retailing solutions combined with, transportation solutions. But obviously this is becoming more and more prevalent, number one. Number two, it's becoming a lot easier for a consumer to go online and find a car outside their local DMA and have that shipped to their house. And so obviously merchandising plays a big part of that, from the vehicle listing and how well it's merchandised online, with photos and data and information. Obviously all that combined with the seamless transportation experience makes it as easy as possible. We all know about the new car kind of chip shortage. And obviously it seems like we're still probably, from what we've been reading, a good 12 months away, perhaps, from this logjam kind of working itself out, which has kind of spiked the used car demand. At auctions, as you all know, the vehicle pricing has been increasing just given that used car demand, and different segments, a lot of different segments going in there and driving that pricing up even further. Obviously, autonomous vehicles is a huge kind of part of what we've been seeing in automotive as well. So those are just some of the examples. And from the transportation side, fuel prices, that is driving costs up significantly with all the different fuel pricing and energy and pricing that's happening in the industry. So from a transport perspective, that is obviously something to observe and understand and help, and you'll see how a digital platform can kind of help in that regard. Lastly, kind of a few other automotive transport trends that I haven't touched on in the prior two slides. There are more government regulations occurring. So an easy one to talk about there is ELD devices. Like, that's a requirement now, electronic logging devices on trucks. That really helps guide how much and how long truck drivers can drive. There's certain rules and regulations around amount of hours they can drive at one particular time before they need a break, or in a 24-hour period in totality. So there's more and more kind of government regulations that perhaps weren't in place before, which is impacting even truck drivers coming on board. There's more and more auto transport on the road. We talked about the capacity crunch, which is really around the amount of truck drivers and the labor changes there. Technology disruptors, there's a lot that's occurring today, and you'll see that in a little bit as well. But easy things like GPS tracking, so like live tracking on these vehicles, which is a part of the digital platforms today. Route planning is a huge one that is helping the industry out. So really that's around the ability to take and look at a certain amount of, let's say, a certain amount of capacity on a truck. They know they have to go to these different locations to pick up vehicles. Well, based upon traffic patterns, time of day, where the vehicles are located, pick up, where they're being dropped off, etc., there is technology that's being developed to really help them with the most efficient route possible in terms of pickup and drop-offs, and providing that information to a carrier or to the truck drivers to really help them be as efficient as possible in terms of drop-off, amount of gas being used, cost, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of exciting things there that's helping them out in the industry, as well as there's other types of communication tools, right? You don't have to just go inside and call or text. Within platforms, you can chat directly with that truck driver to make it as easy as possible. There is online negotiation pricing tools so that you don't have to go through that process of email and calling. You can actually negotiate directly with that carrier and truck driver online. So there are a lot of technology disruptors that are out there that are part of these platforms to make it as efficient as possible. So what's the evolution of auto logistics? Where has it been? Kind of where is it going? Well, one of the easy things that this helps address around digital automation and digital transformation into these platforms is, number one, having everything contained in one place. I know for a fact, after talking to a bunch of different types of businesses, how difficult and challenging it is to manage one thing in Google Sheets, another thing in Excel, Word documents, paper invoicing, receipts, et cetera, and have all these different processes that you have to go find versus having everything in one place. That includes photos from the vehicle. So that's the beauty of these platforms, is you can have everything in one spot, in one location, which everything is very seamless, or even gate passes. So previously you'd have to email a gate pass to the truck driver carrier. Today, it could just be uploaded as a part of that vehicle that's being acquired or picked up at an auction, right? So very, very easy, very, very seamless. These things are a part of the platform just to make it as efficient as possible. Finding capacity. So the ability to post units to a load board that has thousands and thousands of active carriers to be able to find that capacity to move the units as quickly as possible. Managing that route and transport. We've kind of talked about that route planning capabilities and managing the transport to make it as easy and as efficient as possible. Different communication tools, whether it be phone, email, text, chat inside platforms. The transparency obviously is probably the biggest thing that we have heard from our different shippers and even carriers, which is, the biggest change is, how can I see exactly where this vehicle is? When is it going to get there? Proactive communication so that we all are on the same page between the shipper, the carrier, the end customer. So that live tracking and being able to see that both internally to the business as well as to provide that ultimately to the end customer, so that alleviates and eliminates any sort of inbound calls to your business or to your dealership, is probably what we hear most about. More and more data. So in these platforms, you get more and more data that can be shared with you, so you can kind of help manage your business. And then lastly, automation. So automation is key within platforms. Again, take manual processes out of the equation and very seamless and very easily automate those things so you can eliminate steps and make it as efficient as possible. So we've learned with our products and services, obviously having the shipper products and the carrier products, these systems and these platforms and services have to be able to be seamlessly integrated with the carrier platforms and products and services and the shippers. You can't have solutions and products today that are not interconnected via APIs or via other means. The information and the flow of data has to be seamless across both. You can't have and make carriers jump through hoops to connect with shippers, and you can't have shippers jump through hoops to connect with carriers. It has to be one seamless process to be able to do that. So that's 3. And then 4, we've got to be able to overcome kind of historical barriers to change. And again, the biggest thing that we heard when speaking with businesses is, I have an existing process today. It works well for me. Of course, there's various different manual things that I might need to do in my process, but I know it. I've done this for the past 10 years. I'm a transportation manager, maybe at an auction or at a dealership. I've done this process. It works great. So how do I take it from there, learn this brand new kind of platform and experience, and how can I easily now kind of take those things and transform it over to a platform, use the platform. So that's typically one of the frequent things we hear. And after we've gone through the platform and training, and done this many times, it's clear that it's very easy to pick up. It's very easily used. The user experience, which we'll get to in a moment, allows users to pick it up and learn, and then kind of continue to build and allow them to take over and run their operations through this platform. So the barrier to change has while it was acknowledged up front, we have been able to get over that barrier change with our platform. So let's go through poll number 2. Curious, based upon the truck driver shortage estimates at the end of 2021, we had talked about that being one of the biggest challenges in the logistics industry. Curious, how many truck drivers, if it continues at its current pace, how many truck drivers do you think we'll need by the end of 2030? If it continues at its current pace in 10 years, what do we think? Let's give about 10 to 20 seconds here. Nope, appreciate you answering. So yes, the answer is 160,000. So if we continue at our current, pace as of the end of 2021, we will be at a shortfall at about 160,000 truck drivers, which is huge. If you think about it by the end. So I know that a lot of to address this, carriers, companies, they're doing different things to entice truck drivers to enter the industry. Obviously, pay, hours, benefits, things of this nature are completely being redone and reworked to get the next round of truck drivers into the industry, given we have a lot that are now kind of retiring and coming at the end. So, anyways, just wanted to share that. So next step is, in order to build a platform or a digital platform for shippers and obviously carriers, so we learned kind of what are the trends happening and what are the barriers to change and what are the things needed to connect shippers and carriers. So then number 2 is we've got to have some data or some intelligence to be able to then build the actual product, right? So that was kind of step 2. So I'll cover this pretty quick. So we mined, obviously looking at the data that was in our product, in our ecosystem of Ship.Cars products and services, we mined and looked at all the historical data and aggregated that to see, what do we see out there? What do we see with shippers? What do we see with carriers? So first is going to actually get the data. After you get the data, then you've got to be able to kind of model out and predict and understand what's happening in the future based upon the data and the trends that you're seeing. So that was kind of step 2 in terms of what we did from a process. Step 3 is after you do that, you gather that, you predict, you debate, you have a bunch of folks who go through all this. Then the third thing is, well, then based upon that information, what do we recommend and how do we build this experience based upon that recommendation? So that was probably one of the most debated things is, all right, given all this, like, what do we build? What's the end user actually need to support their business, right? So that's what you call a prescriptive phase. And lastly, kind of behind all that is machine learning and AI. So that's, we've adopted that. We've rolled that out across all of our different kind of data, across our products like Calcutron, which is our kind of online AI-based pricing engine. And it really helps kind of slice and dice large amounts of data to be able to analyze that much faster and quicker, obviously, than perhaps we could do previously. So now that we've got the trends, we've got the understanding, we've got the data intelligence. Now, the last thing we had to do is build the ideal customer experience. ICE is what we call it. Now, I apologize. My mouse is going a little bit slow to flip through slides. So bear with me one sec. There we go. All right. So first, We listened, we heard, we talked to, we did a ton of usability with dealerships, auctions, a bunch of different businesses to understand, like, we have to understand exactly what they need. What are they doing today? What do they need? So it's ultimately build a product based upon the ideal customer experience and what we hear from a customer. Apologize, I'm still, PowerPoint's moving a little bit slow, so my apologies. Number 2, prioritization exercise. So after we look at that and understand exactly what they need, we know the data, the trends, etc. Then it's all about prioritization. What is most important? How do you value that? What is the complexity behind some of those things, the necessity for the businesses? And after you get that prioritization, then you're able to solve the user problems. But at the end of the day, like, that's exactly what we are trying to accomplish here. What are the challenges? What are the things we're trying to solve for? What are you trying to build towards? Then we develop the kind of user interface, what we call the wireframes or prototypes. We then take that back out into the industry. We talk to those same businesses, get their feedback. We collect feedback, we iterate, we go back, we share the wireframes, the prototypes again. So at the end of the day, we've gone through multiple different iterations, multiple different rounds of feedback. And then we're able to then, at that point, we're able to have that user experience that we're able to take to the marketplace. All right. So after that, we've collected all that, and then we're back and we basically communicate that with our customers, and we've launched a platform. Now, Loadmate, which is the platform for shippers to be able to connect with carriers and move inventory. We launched that at the beginning of January. We launched it actually in Q4 as a pilot, and then we launched nationally in Q1. And then for Loadmate Pro, which is the automotive enterprise TMS, we launched that actually at NADA this past year in March. All right. So now that we talked about the launch and the time frame, so what we did is, with this platform, with that feedback, we created this agnostic digital platform. And the reason why we say it's agnostic is we work with everybody. So we want to make sure this solution works for any different type of client. And so we just want to make sure we address the challenges, the pain points, we address the new marketplace dynamics, and it's agnostic. So we'll integrate and work with anybody, any carrier, transportation provider. We will onboard them onto this platform. And at the end of the day, what this is a platform that we just showed we built a user interface. However, if companies want to leverage data and leverage our API, well, they can plug their APIs, or we can plug APIs into them, and they can leverage the data and build their own experience, okay? But it is a best of breed technology. It allows a centralization and the ability to basically either A, post your inventory onto a load board to get a carrier to respond, or B, if using it as a TMS, it allows a process to upload all your inventory easily. We can do that via that .csv file. But it allows you to upload the inventory and then assign it to your various kind of transportation providers, whether it's a broker, a carrier, whomever. But again, you can either post it to a load board. You can, if you have a preferred or primary carrier, you can post it directly to them. Or if you work with a bunch of different brokers or carriers, you can sign it to them. But after that, then you're able to have this visibility after the vehicle's picked up. You have this visibility into that whole process. So you have that live tracking yourself. You have the ability to share that live tracking with your end customer. You have the ability to upload all that documentation. At the end of the day, you can measure all this using our dashboard and our reporting and leverage those types of KPIs at the end of the day. So it has all those kind of features and functionality. So at the end of the day, a few key takeaways I was just hoping to convey. One is how we went about doing this is we collected data. We built this with a ideal customer experience to really help address a lot of those challenges and obstacles that we heard in today's key marketplace. So that's number one. Number two, this customer-centric platform, it exists today, and it solves for these historical challenges and barriers, right, in vehicle transportation. And then lastly, number three, automotive companies today, they've adopted, the ones that have adopted and utilized these types of digital platforms to manage their full end-to-end logistics operations, they absolutely have yielded significant efficiencies. And at the day, you know, that helps gain the greatest advantage over their competitors. So there is huge efficiencies. There's huge time saved. There's all these things. There's cost savings as a part of that as well. There's manual processes that are eliminated, and everything is a part of these platforms to make it as easy as possible.
Justin, this is Doug. Question for you, and maybe you're prepared to have answered this, but when dealers inquire and go through your presentation, are they most interested in cost savings or getting inventory to dealerships quicker? Where's the primary objective typically?
Great question. So it's twofold. So one is in today's marketplace, they need to be able to get that inventory wherever they sourced it from to their dealership as easy, as quickly, as time efficient as possible. So one is, how do I connect with carriers or transportation providers to be able to do that? And how do I do that as easy as possible and get it to my dealership as quickly as possible with the investment that makes sense for me? Because obviously there's dynamics there, right? So the quicker you want to get to a dealership, obviously the more you've got to kind of pay. If you don't have to get it there and maybe you have more time, then you can pay less. So that's this kind of constant dynamic between the two. So that's kind of one. And then number two is, I would say also, how do I manage everything? So how do I get everything in one spot and manage that so that I have complete visibility and end to end? So at a given point, I can know at any particular time, I've got X amount of vehicles that are in process of getting here, and I could quickly see when they're going to get here or when they're going to get to the consumer, or what are my costs that I can track on one platform? How much have I spent this month, this year, this quarter, et cetera? So it's more of a consolidation of data and experience and knowing exactly kind of what's happening with my logistics in one spot.
Good. Is there any significant pushback from other carriers from joining this database and providing their information so they can get on this platform?
So we've got about a little over 7,000 active carriers today who are engaged with Ship.Cars products and services that are active, and dealers can connect with them, post their inventory. And it's a very, very easy process for them to register on our site and be a carrier on our platform. So it's we've made it as easy as possible for carriers to onboard. We've got 7,000 active carriers today waiting to pick up inventory. So it's and that number is obviously growing over time. So they're excited about the opportunity.
Will your platform evaluate carriers based on cost or quality of service or any of those kind of metrics?
That is another great question. So yes, so it does. So in Q1 2023, we are going to have a data-based rating system. So today we have a carrier profile, which has key things like their DOT number and things of that nature. So there is a carrier profile today. Late Q4, early Q1, as a part of that profile, we'll have a data rating system, which will be unique to the industry. So today, ratings are usually qualitative based, right? Like I had this experience, I'll share my feedback based upon this experience, so some sort of rating system and comments to go along with it. Ours is going to be database, so it's normalized across every single type of carrier and or transportation provider. So on-time delivery, on-time pickup, no damage, et cetera. So we'll have a data model where we'll take all these relevant data points, we'll build it into the rating system and publish that so that so as a dealer, when you look across that and you want to see, well, how does this carrier compare to this one, the data is all normalized, and we use the exact same methodology, the exact same data points to build into that rating. So there is no guesswork involved.
Okay. So if if I have a multi-store group, let's say 5 or 6 stores in this automotive group, do I need an application for each location, or what is your experience? Do they typically centralize that and have one person manage that transportation network, or does each store do it individually?
So we've seen it both ways. So we've seen a kind of centralized approach where there's kind of one individual who will be responsible, the one kind of responsible for the transportation across the various stores. We've also seen it where it's decentralized, where there'll be one kind of, one account. Then you'll have various users at each dealership who are doing and managing their own logistics for their own dealership. And then there would be kind of capabilities where you could then have the opportunity to have rolled up views, whether at the store, region, obviously across the whole group, et cetera. So there's various ways to then be able to kind of roll up that information.
Okay. Do you guys have any, and I'm sorry for all these questions, but as a logistics guy, I'm fascinated by making things easier and more cost effective. Do you guys have any metrics on what kind of cost savings dealers have experienced using your platform?
So we can get back to you, and I can share that, Doug, to get back to the team, because that is a metric that marketing is coordinating with our product team, like we talked about, given all the data and given all the information. So that is something that we are actively, in fact, working on to share. So perhaps that's a follow-up, Doug, I can give in terms of a quantifiable number that you could actually kind of take out and communicate. But I don't, as we're sitting here today, I just don't have that one type of analyzed number that's kind of marketing / product kind of blessed and approved at this point.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions I have for you guys.
Awesome. Great, Doug. Great questions. I appreciate that.
Everyone now go ahead and click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen if you have a question here for Justin. And we will spend the last minutes of the webinar covering that. So again, go ahead and click on that button to get a hold of us for anything that you would like to ask. Otherwise, Kevin, do you have some questions?
Okay, we've got a couple here from the Q&A that we can start with, Justin, and then as more come in, we can go through those as well.
Okay.
The first question that came in is, Justin, what are some of the most requested features that are part of these digital platforms?
Most requested features are live tracking. That's the common one. I would say that is the most common one. Is I want to know exactly where this unit is, so I know exactly when it's going to arrive at my dealership, so I can have my team or companies ready to be able to get it frontline ready for my lot. So live tracking, both for my own benefit and then live tracking if I'm ultimately delivering this to an end consumer, to be able to provide that information to them so they don't have to either call the carrier or call me in order to provide where that information or where their vehicle is. So I'd say kind of number one is live tracking. I would say behind that, a couple other things is just the ability to have everything in one spot, whether it is photos, bill of ladings, inspection sheet, gate passes, invoicing, et cetera. So one centralized place where all that information is stored and located on a particular vehicle, I would say is probably right behind live tracking. And then probably after that is an easy way, whether it's this dashboard or whether it's reporting, but a really, really easy way for me to be able to pull metrics based upon this month, this quarter, this year for anything tied to my logistics, whether it's kind of cost, whether it's amount of vehicle. So basically easy way to pull information about logistics.
Okay, great. I'll keep rolling through some more. The second question here is, are these types of digital platforms able to support and work with all different types of transportation providers?
Yeah. So ours, for LoadMate and LoadMate Pro, it is. We built this to be an agnostic platform, meaning we work with everybody. It's not like we push anybody over the other. So it's completely agnostic. So whether you are trying to move your vehicle through a network like the load board of 7,000 active carriers, whether you want to work with one preferred carrier because they're the ones who you've always worked with, where you can assign it directly to them, whether they are a broker and you prefer to go that route, well, we can onboard brokers onto the platform. You can assign it that way. So it's completely agnostic in terms of working with carriers or brokers or types of transportation providers at the end of the day. So we try and make it, again, at the end of the day, trying to make it as easy as possible on the dealer and the shipper to move the units, and whoever they work with, we want to work with and we'll work with.
Okay, great. Another question that just came in. Justin, is this platform applicable to other carrier markets other than cars?
As of now, it's just cars. In the future, it will be motorcycles. So, and then down the road, perhaps other types of, recreational vehicles. But for now, the platform is really geared around kind of vehicles.
I think we have one more question here. Is there anything exciting and new on the horizon in 2023 that you can share?
So I would say couple of features, and this is more from the TMS, so LoadMate Pro versus LoadMate, which is, again, just it's all about connecting with the carrier, a public load board. So I would say for that, it's more about auto dispatching. So what we've heard feedback is transportation shippers would like the ability to almost have this waterfall type approach. So I want to bid this amount for this move under this time frame, and go to a select number of carriers or providers, and they have the first opportunity to bid at it. And if they can't, and if I don't receive an offer or bid or be able to book it, then automatically it'll go to this carrier or provider. And if they don't accept, it goes to a tertiary carrier provider. So that kind of automated waterfall price bidding type approach, which would then, if they accept it, it'll automatically dispatch. That's something exciting that's coming along here in Q4, perhaps bleeding to Q1, but call it next 6 to 7 months, we will have that available. So that's something exciting. And then we are going to, so for dealers and dealer groups, this kind of decentralized approach, or one of the ways that they do use it, where you have a user per dealership, and we're going to be doing some things to make it a lot more exciting to basically roll out that information at that group level that we talked about, and some things there. So that's coming in Q4. And then lastly, I would say this kind of for the carrier side, this kind of route optimization and route management. So we are doing some exciting things to really, at the end of the day, with our carrier side, that's going to benefit our shippers, like we talked about. How can we give them the best possible efficient? How can we help them be efficient with their route and the vehicle pickup and deliveries, which then ultimately will help our shippers, again, get that vehicle quicker, faster, cheaper, et cetera. So there are some exciting things coming here called by the end of this year.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions from the Q&A that we have today.
Great. Well, awesome. Well, listen, team and folks on the call, thank you for your time. I hope this is informative. My contact information is here and will be distributed. Should you have any questions or need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, Dave and Doug, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, Strategic Source. We enjoyed being here today, and hopefully this is an informative session for everybody.
Well, Justin and Kevin, thanks very much for your time today. It was an excellent presentation and full of good information and facts. We know that given the shortage of new cars right now, there's an awful lot of business going on in the used car market, and transportation for those used cars is probably at its peak. So managing those costs and those logistics are absolutely key. So we thank you guys for a very informative presentation and providing your expertise here today. For those of you still on the call, on the webinar, understand that this innovative webinar series goes roughly every 2 weeks. I think we're booked through November with other suppliers and other categories, always innovative categories, ways to attack your expenses. So please watch for emails and text messages on the next upcoming sessions. If you're interested in a copy of this today, of this presentation, reach out to us either at sales@strategicsource.com or text 612-386-3898. Give us your name, your phone number, and your email address, and we will be happy to get a copy out to you. And then we will have this webinar available on our website probably by Friday sometime. But thank you everybody for joining us, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Kevin. And I'm going to bring up a post-session survey that everyone can give their answer to 2 short questions. You spent the hour with us. We'd love to get your feedback. So there you have it. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to you joining us on future webinars with Strategic Source. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.